Okay, so in this video, I'm going to go through a step-by-step email sign-up form training for you if you have an online store and you want to use Klaviyo to start collecting emails. So, purpose of a sign-up form, three main areas, okay? Capturing site visitors onto your email list so that you can market to them over an owned media channel. You can increase the likelihood of getting customers to buy again without relying on paid acquisition all the time, which is beautiful. And you can start to capture relevant customer data to improve all areas of your business. So that could be like interest levels, what kind of discounts people like, what kind of offers people like, what kind of free resources people are interested in, what kind of messaging makes sense. All those things are really, really important. Now, when to create a sign up form? Simple answer, immediately. Create an online store, create a sign up form. Just because you might not be like running campaigns straight away to your entire audience, you can still start to capture useful data, and you can leverage automations like your welcome flow, your browser abandonment, your site abandonment, etc., to create some automated sales from there. Now, what makes a good sign up form? Three things: really strong incentive. So I'm going to give you my email address. What are you going to give to me? Is it a discount? Is it some kind of free gift? Is it a resource that might help, improve my life? Like, what is the reason? I'm not just going to give you my email because you're going to send me emails. Like, I don't care. Okay, so it needs to be really strong incentive. It needs to be pattern disrupting. Okay, people have come to your site for a particular reason. People don't come to your site to sign up for your email unless it's me and I want to see how bad your emails are. So you need to put something that like stops them in their tracks and at least considers you for a brief moment of, should I give this brand my email? And then very clear next steps. Okay, so people don't want to be thinking too hard about what it is that they're doing. All right, they don't need to be messing around and thinking like, oh, what step do I need to take? What button do I press here? If I press this, where's it going to take me? Like, make it really, really simple. Okay, you've got a very, very small amount of time to make this work. So let's get like straight into doing it. So let me jump into the form library on Klaviyo. So you're in Klaviyo, click sign up forms, and it gives you millions of different options. Okay, so I'm going to just go through a couple today to kind of give you some ideas of what's working now in 2025. And what we're using to kind of save you like going through 1,000, it's not that many, but a lot of different sign up forms. Things to be interested in here is the form style. You can pick a different one here. Like, do I want it to be a pop-up that shows up? Do I want it to be a full page? It takes up the entire page. Do I want it to fly out? Do I want a banner, across, on the top here? Or do I want an embed, which I'll do a separate video for embeds. We're just going to look at some full pages because these are my favorite ones right now. Get rid of banner. We're going to do a multi-step just to jump things in one and go from there. So in fact, let's jump out. We'll just do a single step first, and then I'll show you how you can kind of add different ones from here. Now, when you click on template type, you can choose what you want to collect. Like, do I want just emails? Do I want phone numbers? Do I want just phone numbers? Let's say we want email and phone number. It's going to take us just to those two from there. So we'll just do email for now to give us some more options. And then you can choose like seasons and holidays if you wish. Now, I wouldn't suggest you necessarily have to do that, okay? But you can choose a number of different options on here. Now, if we jump into a first order discount on this one, I'm just going to leave it as the name it is, but you can call it whatever you want. On the email list, I'm going to take it to our newsletter because that's the default list that we would collect on here. And then I'm just going to click create form. And then it's going to load. Hopefully not take ages. Amazing. So now that we have the main area, it starts to look a little bit confusing. Now, the reason I kind of like these sign up forms here is you have your teaser, which I'll go through. You have a little micro commit that's like, hey, you've got 10% off your first order. Claim my code. It's like, oh, okay, cool, boom. Then it goes into like, here's your email and claim my code. And then here's a success part here, like here's where your coupon is. I'm going to go through each individual one and why these look great. Now, this is just a mobile specific one here, but you can make some changes to what these look like in, I think it's targeting and behavior. There you go. So you can click like both desktop and mobile, and then you can start to have a look on both and see what it looks like. Now, that doesn't look beautiful. My advice is let's focus on just one for each one, because then you can make changes to what it looks on mobile and what it looks like on desktop. So in this one here, we're just going to show you straight away what a mobile only one looks like. So I'll just get out of here real quick. When we go back to the teaser, something we want to be really mindful of here is like, where do we want it to be on our phone screen? Because you might have a little chat bot here, you might have some burger buttons up on here. We don't want this to like take up too much of the space. So we can pick a circle here, we can pick a little corner one, we can stick with the banner, You know, I quite like the rectangle one, and let's say we want it to be at the top. Okay, things we want to consider here of changing is when do we want the teaser to show. We can have it after the form is closed, we can show it before the form is closed, or we can do it before displaying the form and after. Now, what I would say is two options that make sense is having it before and after, or having it just after the form is closed. Now, the reason I say this is because if you come on the site and you click like, oh, there's a cookies thing, and you click it off, sometimes the pop-up doesn't show up because you haven't got it set up properly, or sometimes just Klaviyo is having a moment, and then you've lost that opportunity to sign somebody up. So we still kind of like want that little barrier that's shown in there. Now, a couple of things here, obviously the coloring isn't great on this, so we'd want to consider like changing. We can change the background color here, just down at the bottom. We could like go right to like a really crazy black, or you can choose some brand colors from your website, like if probably not red, you know, or white from here looks, you know, looks pretty poor. So let's just say for the sake of like standing out and being wild, we're just gonna have like a black one here, and then we can change the color of text on here. So we highlight it, and then there's a text color. Here we go. We can just change it to white, which I think is that zeros. No. There you go, Fs. You put your Fs across, and then you've got like, get 10% off your first order. So this is like, immediately I'm like, this is probably work well for a fashion brand because it's really bold. Obviously you can change the text to be a little bit more aligned with your brand. You know, like if George is a little bit fancier, or if you want to like use another one. Now, I wouldn't suggest adding fonts, to be honest, if you're going to be using Klaviyo, just because sometimes they can look gross. So I would try as much as possible to use something that we have here and then make it work for ourselves from here. So that's the teaser. The micro commit here, which is awesome. What I love about this is like it shows up on the whole page on here. You've got that cross there. I would probably get rid of that, to be honest. I don't really like the look of it on there. But when you go through a number of areas here, you've got a cool image, which you can either keep or get rid of. You've got the name of the brand. You've got what it is here, and then you've got the stuff from here. When I say like make it clear, I would get rid of that block because it's gross. Like, we don't need to know who you are. We know who you are because you've landed on your website, okay? Now, and then we've got this block here. What we can do to kind of play around with things is we could kind of like just drop a little thing here and go from there. Or when we go to blocks, there's usually a spacer of some sort, I think. If not, can't see it. So sometimes you can't see the spacer. I wonder if they've moved that. Okay, so we can't see that because where the image is. So I would just come onto here and then, you know, drop that down to create a little bit of space between those. Go from there. Now, you've got a couple of options here. This is a micro commit, so nobody knows what they're signing up for now. You could just put like, you know, you've got a mystery discount, and make sure you can spell unlike myself. It could be like, you've got a mystery discount, okay, with some like boom, and then you can keep this if you want. Like, it's all right. Maybe I'll just get rid of it. And then change the claim my code, and it could be, you know, claim it, or, you know, grab discount. I always like to have this bit in all caps. And what I don't like right now, just looking at it, is I don't like the text there. So let's like look at what Georgia looks like. That's better. Have the discount, you know, on here, and then you can have the decline offer, but like it kind of sounds a bit poor. I'd just be like, you know, no thanks, or something like that. Now, the reason these buttons stand out more is because what we want people to click that without giving too much thought. So this is what I talk about making it easy. It's like somebody can just click the button and go, boom, I'm going to grab my discount, and they'll go. It submits the form and then shows the next step, which is the email opt-in from here. So that's the stuff from there. Now, you want to change the image, just click on it, replace it with something you've got. You want to remove it, you know, it's going to remove that there and kind of give you like a bit more of a clear one. I personally like pop-ups without too much imagery. By all means, test them and see what works. But like, I just want somebody to know, like, hey, you've got a mystery discount, grab it, or no thanks. And then I do hate this. I wonder if we can get rid of this. You probably get rid of this somewhere in targeting. we'll go through this while we're here. So the targeting and behavior stuff in the display, you've got a couple of options of when you want a sign up form to show. Do you want it to show up immediately? I would say no in 99% of cases. I would often choose to be based on a number of rules. I'd have it when somebody is exiting the page, so when it detects that somebody might be leaving, and I'd have after a time delay of probably 8+ seconds, because you want somebody to be on the site and to actually start having a look, or if they've scrolled a certain amount. So if they go on and they start scrolling down quickly, it's like, hey, let's show this from here. And if you want to have it after they've seen a certain number of pages, I wouldn't personally do that. I've not seen any success for that. And I wouldn't have only display if all these conditions are met, because this might not all happen until somebody's about to exit, and it might not always pick up. So these are the kind of options I would go with. But in terms of testing, absolutely test the time delay a lot, just to see when is the key moment that people actually sign up, rather than just getting rid of the form. As we scroll down, a couple of options here. After the visitor closes the form, do we want to show this again? Sure, a few days later, why not, in case they do come back. And then obviously don't show again if the form was submitted or the go to URL button was clicked, so keep that on. Now, we're doing this as a mobile only one, because we want to make it a little bit easier. In terms of targeting, what we don't want to do here is show to existing Klaviyo profiles, unless we're doing a sign up form to capture data, at which point we can then show to all visitors or show to email subscribers only. So if we want to do a data collection of hey, did you see our new launch, or what are you most interested in seeing right now, or which of these offers would you like to see, that's when I would change that. But until then, I would just keep that as not showing to existing profiles. And then you can have it only show on certain URLs or don't show on certain URLs. This is useful for if you're driving people to a product page from an advert. Do we want to disrupt them at that point when they're locked in and they're going straight through their point of potentially buying? So we want to be really mindful, do we want them on there? If not, then we want to put anything to do with whatever that product name is, or we want to have the exact website page from there. We'll leave that empty for now. And then you can even have, this is quite good for brands based in certain parts of the world. So if you're a US brand, you might only want to show to people that are in North America, for example, or Afghanistan, wherever. If you're not wanting to show to people in Europe, for example, because if you're not selling to those people, then you might not want to collect them on your email list. So, and then you can put it here I don't want to show to people in Africa, Asia, Europe, EU, and South America, and Oceania. I don't want these people seeing this form. And then what that means is if I signed up or visited your site from the UK, I'm not going to see this. You're not going to give me an option to sign up, which makes sense. So definitely something to consider on these things from here. While we're in here, let's just jump back in and see if there's anything useful. In terms of styles, we're obviously picking a full page one, and we can change that as we are. We can change the content width. I'm not going to play around with these right now. You can change the background color. So I'm just going to copy that because we like it. You can change it to an outrageous black if you really wanted. I'm just going to leave this in here for now. Then you can have a background image on there if you wanted one. You can have a bit of drop shadowing on there. You don't see it because it's a full page across. And then you can play around with stuff. To be honest, I wouldn't play around with much of this because it doesn't, from experience, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And Klaviyo have done a good job at kind of giving us the things that we need. So I wouldn't play around too much with these things. You can scroll down and have a play around if you want to, change the input field styles, that kind of stuff if you want. But personally, I wouldn't do that. Is there anything else that we missed? Don't think so. Display. Just want to make sure we don't miss anything, so bear with me. Here we go. So we can have this click outside of form to close. Now, obviously, when it's a full page like this, people can't click out. But what I would suggest is turning it off most of the time, because when I talked about the cookies thing popping up, because you clicked outside, it may then get rid of that form and you've lost an opportunity from it. So we would, more often than not, we would get rid of that option from there. And then obviously you can make some changes to I don't know if this will move for us here. Will it move? No. We could move this up there if you wanted. Will it last? Like, I don't know why you would want to, but you can kind of move things around from there and do this stuff there. Again, I wouldn't make too much of a song and dance around changing that. Number of things to be testing on here are the messaging. So it's, would you like a mystery discount, or you've qualified for a discount, or grab a limited time discount, or here's a free resource, or whatever it is. People click it here. What we found these micro commits here, especially now in 2025, is people are like, they're more intrigued, but when like people see this more often than not, so they're like, oh, it's just another sign up form. Whereas if we're kind of disrupting their day with a bit of a different pattern disruptor, like, hey, you've got a mystery discount, they're like, oh, cool, and they click it, cool, they go straight through. Next page is the kind of main part, the email opt-in. Now, I would get rid of a number of different things here, because I don't think having, the name of the brand is a good use of space. Like, we know who you are, we know, why we're here. So we can play around with the image from here, replace it, get rid of it, do whatever we want. We can just get rid of it and see what it looks like and go, okay, cool. And then it's like, you've got whatever discount, you've got 15% off your first order, and then from here it could be, get my discount, or, save today, make sure you can spell properly, or save 15%, whatever. Like, it needs to be something. And again, play around with, the text or whatever you want. Like, Georgia's looking nice. We didn't like Times New Roman, so we can jump in here and, go to Georgia again. We can start to play around with these things. But on this form, like, we wanted to make it really easy. It's like, hey, you've got 15% of your first order, save 15%. You can add a little text here, like add your email if you wish, but like, personally, I wouldn't. I'm trying to understand why that doesn't move. There'll be a way to do it. Once that's done and you're happy with that, always go to this last bit. People tend to like forget about this bit. I'm not sure why. Again, get rid of this thing if you want. Thanks, confirm your email and SMS. Now this is only email, so you could just be like, thanks. And just have like, boom, it's done. And then I am a big fan for having the coupon in here, because we're not having to send people to email. Now there's a lot of noise in the space around, let's get them onto email to train them to, like, people know how to receive emails, okay? They don't need to be trained. They know what's happening. But what we don't want to do is stop people from buying and coming to the site and making that purchase. So you've got your coupon on here. You can have a static coupon. You can integrate this with your Shopify store to create a unique coupon if you want. That's not always a terrible idea. Your choice. Static ones are good because they look cool, so you can call it like, save 15, and people are like, oh, there's my code, or 15 off, like whatever it is you want to create as your code, and then people can copy it. Now the thing here is like, go to inbox. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I would go to the website and it would be like, browse store or something, or get whatever it is you want to do, right? And we want people to click on that and go here, and then it takes them back, back to the website, looking at the store. You can go to a very specific URL if you want. So it could be, like gymshark.com/new in or discounts, whatever it is, like you want to drive people to. That's the things you want to be considering from here. So like, I could go really in depth about like millions of different ways to do this. In terms of testing, here's the things you want to be looking at testing. Your incentive is probably the most important one, because that's the thing people are going to be reading first. Okay, so it's like, well, what is this? You've got a mystery discount, or do you want a discount on your first offer, or do you want to save on your first order? Whatever the message is, okay? So test this like religiously. Make sure you find the messages working, and you want to be getting yourself up to like 10% plus of email signups. Anything below that is like, it's not working the way that you want it to. Test the messaging on the button here, and then test the messaging on here. Literally in that order. People will tell you to like, oh, change the gradient on here, and it'll, by all means, change some colorings, and you might see some incremental, some incremental changes, but ultimately, like, focus on this this, and then this. And then same for email opt-in form. Focus on changing the message here and doing some split tests on here. I'm going to run through a quick just how to set up a split test, and then, you know, change the messaging on here. These things here, like, oh, you could change what it says. By all means do so, but it isn't, again, going to make that much of a difference. We're trying to be efficient here and make the most of our time. And then in terms of the success message, if you want to like see if people want to go to their inbox, again, by all means do that. But again, like, what are we trying to do with the customer here? We want them to give us our email address and we want them to go and buy. So from our experience, give them the coupon, get them to buy from there. Straightforward. In terms of create a test, it's quite straightforward. You can click create test, and then what we just have here is like, we'll have a control, which is our main one, whatever's winning, and then we just call whatever this is. So say if it's like, I don't know, new hook, which is the main message, we'd click create test, let it do its thing, and then we've got an option to test a number of different areas on the things here. So we go on to the micro commit and say if this is the one we want to test. We can pick the new hook, go to the micro commit, and we can be like, do you want a mystery discount ? That's the test, right? So say if that's what we wanted to test, right? We would then just go continue to test settings. Again, you can test a number of different things. Continue to test settings on here. It's then going to show up. You can add a little note on here if you want. You can automatically end the test when it's significant. Personally, it wouldn't bother. You can keep it on there, just get rid of it. We like to do it like, if there's enough traffic, we like to do it on a weekly basis. So we just publish the A/B test. This might not work because we're not on the site. We just click publish, and then go from there. And once that's live, that then starts to run, and then you can come back and you can start to kind of view the actual tests themselves as they are, and that's it. So let me just go get rid of that because we don't want to do it. I want to go back to the form. So that was a number of different things to kind of consider. The full page micro commit option, big win right now in 2025. Email opt-in area, core message, get rid of as many things. And this is obviously I don't know how to do this, and I don't want to waste your time on the call and figuring it out. It'll be an easy fix. And then, you know, a straightforward thing from here. Just make it look nice. Like, does this need a bit of extra space? Yeah, that looks better. Does it need a bit of extra space below? Yeah, that looks cool. If I haven't already said this, like, make sure to test on a number of different devices to make sure that everything looks the way that you want it to look and runs the way that you want it to run. And that's it. So if I jump back out real quick, I go through just a number of different sign-up form ideas, and you can play around with a number of different sign-up forms if you wish. Go to create form again. You've got spin to win. I don't personally love these. I think it attracts low quality subscribers and you start to grow a list, but not in a sustainable way. By all means, try them. Good for discount brands that sell, you know, loads of products, impulse buy brands, good for those kind of things. But overall, if you're a solid brand that sells a great product, personally, I think these are a bit shit, so I wouldn't do them. Stick with full pages as much as possible for now, at least in 2025, until things may change. You can play around and have a free shipping banner if you want. You can try different, you know, looks on here if you want to go and do like a pop-up on here. Click your name, go to newsletter, create the form, and then you can change something from here. So this is a similar sort of one where it's just straight through. In like, you know, shop the look, refresh your wardrobe, explore the style. Now this is quite good for like targeting people that are landing on the site and you want to send them to a specific page. So in terms of targeting, you know, you can put like, let's show to all visitors, and then anybody who comes on site is like, hey, let's explore. And this button here, you could literally take them to like your sale page, right? So obviously this looks a bit pants. You can make some changes, you know, see our offers, or something like that if you want. And then it could be, you know, take a look at our on sale items or something like that. Does that look right? Take a look at our on sale items and then click a button from there. these are all good and everything, but personally, like I don't really use them for any of the brands we work with. Our main one that we focus on is getting the people onto the email and going from there. So, which is this one from here. Jump back in real quick, make sure there's anything of use. Is there anything else that we can do? There was a data one somewhere that I wanted to look at. I might have missed it. This one. So I'm just going to jump in real quick and show this one, which I like this one quite a lot. So this is quite cool for getting some zero-party data at the beginning. So you've obviously got the quiz, which is like unravel your mystery discount, what's your favorite smoothie fruit. Now this is good for obviously if you're selling smoothies. If you're a healthcare brand and you want to know like why people are on your site, you could be like, you know, what's your main health focus, you know, change that, and then you can pick these number of different areas and, you know, change them to whatever you want to change them to. But just to kind of give you an idea, what you can do here is click like mango. You can change it to like, I don't know, sleep, and it could be sleep. You can change the profile property. No, we don't want that one. You can change the profile property to interests. Create interests, and then call it sleep, and then create sleep. And then what I'll do from there is you submit the form, go to the next step. That will then create a profile property of that person, and then you can segment them. And then the next one, you know, click on submit form, show next step, and then obviously you want interests, and then you could put weight loss, whatever. Yeah, obviously you want to change that to weight loss, you know, whatever you want to do from there. And you get the idea as you go through, like you're able to kind of create that, and then you're able to, based on the profile properties, you can completely change the direction of their welcome journey, which is cool. Or you can just start to gather like of 1,000 people that sign up, 80% are interested in sleep. That then tells you like where you want to be driving your ads. It tells you where you want to be positioning your products on your site. It tells you where you want to be focusing on what kind of products to be selling. It makes all the world a difference because it's asking people what they're interested in, and then it's changing your business or pivoting your business in the direction of what the market is looking for. So just wanted to kind of jump in through that. I think these are a big win. I love them a lot. I think they're really cool. So you can test these out from here. We use these exclusively for brands that we work with to make sure that we're capturing the data that we want from there. So that's all of those. That was a step-by-step email sign-up form training. Hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, drop them down in the comments. Always happy to answer anything that we can.